It's going.
It's now going. Hello. Okay, we're making borscht today. So I start with beef, and what we bought today were short ribs, and short ribs. And then I bought some bones, and then I bought some stewing beef. And I'm going to put all of this along with carrots and parsnips and an onion, big onion, to boil. Okay, so it's in the pot. I also added 1 or 2 bay leaves. I added salt and like a pinch of hot pepper flakes because I like it a little spicy. Okay, so I didn't measure how much water, but it's covering the beef. I bet there's 4 to 6 or 8 cups. Ha! What a recipe, right? It's covering the beef. It's I'm making broth. So, oh, and by the way, I didn't mention the garlic that I also added. So we're going to bring this to a boil, and it's going to start to give off some gunk, and we're going to scoop off the gunk. So I'll show you the gunk when it arrives, okay? Okay, so here we go. You can see how the soup is getting kind of cloudy, and that well, the gunk hasn't really started to rise, maybe a little bit. You can see it a little bit, like right there. Anyway, there's going to be a lot more gunk that arises. By the way, I put slashes in the onion, on the back of the onion. I don't cut up the onion. It just makes it harder to remove later. I'm looking for my little thingy. Okay, here, so just gonna jostle the meat around a little bit. Oops. So today in the store I bought whatever meat they had. They didn't have a whole bunch. So I just bought whatever they had. Actually, it's the bones that really make the flavor for the soup, not the meat so much. It's really the bones. And if the flavor by the end, when the broth is all cooked, if it's still doesn't have enough flavor, you can add dried mushrooms to the broth when you're going to be adding the vegetables, or you can add a bouillon cube, and like that. See how much gunk is starting to rise? It comes off the bones. That's where it comes from. And then come closer. Okay, so now I'm going to start removing the gunk that rises off of the bones. And this will take several times. Unfortunately, I'm also taking out anything that floats, which is all the seeds from what was it called? They're called hot pepper flakes. So I'll probably either add them back in later and at another time, and not at another point, or maybe I won't add any more at all. So we're going to do this several times. No need to film it more than once. You get the idea. Okay, that's it. By the way, you might, it always helps to turn down the boil to a low so that the gunk can rise without like boiling up and breaking up. You want to remove as much of it as you can. So I've already removed it 3 times, and I'm going to, in a little while, remove it again. But I did turn down the the water to a simmer so that the gunk rises and I can scoop it off the top. Okay, so now the gunk has subsided. It's now actually the fat is starting to rise. So it's all turning to white, and you can see that the broth itself has cleared up pretty much. So now I keep it on a low simmer. This one's maybe slightly boiling too much, but I'm going to cover it and let it simmer for several hours. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, so I took all the contents of this broth out to drain, into a bowl, into a colander. And all those bones and meat and stuff like that, they're all, oh, look, the camera's fogging up. So that's all gonna drain. Oh, it's gonna be too heavy for me to pick up with one hand. Anyway, so while that's draining and cooling, and I'm gonna rip all that meat off the bones and stuff like that, I do not reuse those carrots and parsnips. Those can be eaten or thrown away. However, I am going to use all of this. 3 beets, probably a can of tomato paste. I have some leftover tomatoes. I'm going to stick those in there. Why not? Some potatoes, an onion, carrots, celery. Sometimes I put in string beans if I have those left over. I have a cabbage. I'm definitely not using that whole cabbage. It's too much, but probably half, maybe 2/3. So I'm gonna prepare this and I'll show you the rest. By the way, beet greens are very, very nutritious. They can be eaten just like you would prepare spinach, just wash them really well. Saute lots of garlic, put those in the sauteing, and they're really very good. Okay, that's it. Okay, so here's my stock. My beef stock. Oh, sorry, here's my beef stock. So I think that if I wasn't trying to make this video all in one day, I would probably put this stock in the refrigerator and let it cool down overnight, and then I would skim off the fat off of it. However, I'm not doing that, so I'm going to just proceed. And over here, I have prepared all the stuff. So the cabbage is chopped into kind of sort of slices. And the celery is chopped, and the carrots are chopped, and the onions are chopped. And the what are these things called? They're called beets, are julienned. So, and then I took all the meat off the bones and left all the fat in the bones, and here's all the meat, and here's the leftover vegetables that I'm gonna throw away mostly. Okay. Okay, so it's starting to look like something. I put in the beets, and oh, and by the way, I added the dried mushrooms because I like the added flavor. And I added all of the vegetables, including those tomatoes that I had left over. And you can see how the water has taken on a borscht-like color. So you cook up all those vegetables for a little while, let it boil a little bit, and then you add the potatoes. And lastly, you add the cabbage. So looky there. It looks like real borscht. So the foamy stuff is just, some vegetable stuff. It actually kind of simmers down, goes away. So that's been cooking for a little while. I'm gonna add the potatoes next and let them all cook for, I don't know, half hour, 20 minutes, half hour. And then I add the cabbage at the very end. Okay, here they go. So that's lovely. Look how lovely. Look how beautiful. Okay. That's it on that so far. Okay, that's it. Okay. So it's bubbling nicely. And I'm going to put in the cabbage. Let's see if I can do this one-handed without splattering everywhere. Oh, what a mess. Where's Mark when you need him? Oh, what a mess. Okay, so let's see. So now you can see how it's completely filled up the pot. So at this point, I mean, the water is really hot in there, and you can bring it back up to a boil, and then you can basically turn it off because it's going to be hot for a really long time. And the cabbage will cook down and give out some juice and get really, really soft. And in a day or two, it's going to turn red. It's not going to be white anymore. So at this point, you also taste it and see what you think. If it needs more salt, if it needs pepper flakes. I added more pepper flakes, by the way, because all of them got skimmed off in the when I was skimming the crud off the top. So let's see what this tastes like. And that's what they do at the cooking shows. They taste it and they say, oh my God, is that ever good? So it is, it's very good. So the tomatoes that I put in and the tomato paste adds a little bit of tartness, which I like also. And actually some cookbooks actually add ketchup to the borscht also to add some tartness. But basically that is it. It's done. It's almost to the very top, and we're going to eat it for the next few days. And I'll show you, you put a dollop of sour cream and some dill on top. I'll show that to you when we plate it up. Okay, bye. Okay, here we are the next day, and you can see how the cabbage has taken on the borscht color. And there's my dried mushrooms, and there's a piece of meat in there, and there's a piece of meat in there, and potatoes, and lovely, lovely. And then we take a dollop of sour cream for each person. There you go. And then you take a nice amount of dill for each person. I like dill, so I'll take it all. There you go. And then, so you serve it with nice bread. And what else is there? You will stir in the sour cream. Comme ça. You see how nice it turns this creamy kind of color. So smells really good, looks beautiful. Enjoy. I hope this helps. Bye-bye.